Hello, quilt artisans. My name is Shonda, and welcome to my channel Under the Needle. So yesterday I did a video about backing a quilt with fleece, and it occurs to me that it probably would have been a good idea to actually show you a quilt. So that's what I'm going to do today. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the pattern that I used first, and then I'll show you the quilt. So basically, what happened was I was supposed to be doing small projects only, no big quilts. And I've ended up doing two now after I wasn't supposed to do any. But so what happened was Fallon over at Be It Quilts and Chris at Sew the Distance did a collaboration. And what they did was they used the same pattern, and I think they had to use fabric from their stash and to see who was going to make the most cost-effective quilt. And the pattern that they chose was a pattern called Quadrangle. And it's a free pattern by Moda. It's a jelly roll pattern. Moda released it for their National Sew a Jelly Roll Day a few years ago. Now, I watched that collaboration. If you're not watching those two guys, you should check out their channels. I'll put the links in the description. So I saw that pattern, and it reminded me of another pattern. It reminded me, and I didn't catch it when I just looked at the pattern. I didn't see it until I saw their finished quilts. And when I saw their finished quilts, I'm like, that reminds me of this pattern that I've been wanting to make. And I'm going to show you guys the pattern. Move my phone. It's called Intersected. It's a fat quarter friendly pattern by Everyday Stitches. I decided to make the middle size. So it makes three different sizes. We've got toddler, throw, and full queen. I decided to do the throw because it uses 24 fat quarters. And so I had to figure out which fat quarter bundle I was going to use. And looking at the pattern, and because each block has three different prints in it. And so looking at my collection, I had to find something where that was going to work for me, where I would be able to have three different prints in each block and have those prints stand out and be distinctive. And I found this little bundle called Home Again by Jill Finley for, I don't know if it's Riley Blake or Moda. I don't remember. I don't remember who, but it was Home Again by Jill Finley. And I really like this line because I like it when a line works black into the, when they work in the color black. I like that for some reason. When you have color and black. Because a lot of times you have black and yellow, black and white, black and red. But when I've got color and black, I like that. And so this line was like that. And when I bought the line, I had no idea what I was going to do with the bundle. Now, this bundle only had 21 fat quarters in it, so I had to go to my stash and source 3 additional fat quarters that I could use in the quilt. So I'm going to show you guys the quilt. This print right here, this is one of the ones that I sourced from my stash. This fat quarter actually came from the Open Gate Quilt subscription box. So those little bonus fat quarters, they come in handy. So this is my quilt. Let me see if I can step back far enough to give you a full view. So this is the quilt. Okay, that's the quilt. And this is my fleece back. Solid. I never could have done a solid red back in quilting cotton. I never could have done it. So the quilting on this, when I talked in the other video, I talked about the quilting. I talked about how you don't have to do very dense quilting. And so I'm going to show you that here, how I quilted it. I think it's easier to see, probably easier to see from the back, but I'll kind of tell you what I did. So what I did was I just used the blocks as my guide, and I basically just put a line of single line, just straight line stitching on either side of the seam for each block, either side of the seam. And then this way, I did a few more lines of stitching. So on this side, and this direction, I put the line of stitching on the seams where the blocks met, but I also put a line of stitching on either side of this sashing piece here. Now, I was going to go through and do it this way as well, but it just didn't need it, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel like it. I was being lazy. So you can see here on the back, not dense quilting at all. You can see that is very, very minimal quilting, very minimal. You can see the quilting lines, very minimal quilting. And honestly, I could have done less. So the extra quilting that I did was just because I wanted it. I wanted to do it, not because it needed it. I honestly could have just stitched in the ditch or stitched near the ditch for each block and just had like this is a block. I could have just had that be my stitching for each block, and then that's it. But I chose to just do a little bit extra. Now, for the binding, I chose to, when I trimmed the quilt, and you can see my binding is not, because you can see it's not nice and even, right? Because the smart thing to do would have been to fold this under. I double folded it. So I cut the fleece and left about 1 1/4 inch of the fleece backing. And then I folded it up to the quilt, and then I folded it over. And then I stitched it down. So it would have been better to use clips or pins to hold this binding. I did not do that. And because I didn't do that, it got a little uneven because the way that fleece stretches and moves. So yeah, that's a thing. So I might go back and do another line of stitching here because I feel like there's some areas, I know there's some areas where that fleece didn't quite stay tucked. So I think I might just go back and just do another zigzag stitch here just to make sure that that stays. I'm not super worried about it because the good thing about fleece is that it doesn't fray. No fraying with fleece. So I don't have to worry about that. So I just can go back and just do another line of stitching here, and I don't have to worry about it. So I think I'm going to do that. But this was my quilt. This was very easy to put together. This intersected pattern, it went together really easy. The cutting was super simple. This quilt has been washed. So I did not pre-wash my fabric, but I did starch the fabric. So this is about as crinkly as it's going to get. So it's about as crinkly as my quilts normally are. Mine don't usually get super crinkly, even with the batting. I guess because I use that lightweight 80-20 batting, I don't really have a whole lot of shrinkage. This is about it for me. So the way this looks on the front is pretty much the way all of my quilts look on the front after they've been washed. To give an example, hold on, let me go grab the chandelier quilt. Hold on. All right, so this is my chandelier quilt that I completed. It's also been washed, and you can see the level of crinkle is about the same in these quilts. So to me, there's no difference. There's no difference in crinkle, at least that I can notice. I don't know if you guys can tell a difference. I don't know. It looks the same. To me, it actually looks like this has a little bit more crinkle. I don't know. So I really enjoyed putting this together. It was really easy. It was really fast. I did not have to do any half square triangles, which was nice. That chair. I did find it beneficial for me to to finger press everything. So the way it has you make these blocks, it has you make, you end up making 2 identical blocks. So, is it 2 identical blocks? No, you end up with 2 reverse blocks. So this block here, and I'm still not saying it right. No, you get 2 identical blocks. So, where's the other one? It's gonna take forever to try to find them. Okay, anyway, I'll never find it. So you make 2 identical blocks. One is pressed one way, the other is pressed another way. So when you lay out the quilt, you have to lay it out with, you know, one block pressed to the left, this block pressed to the right, this block pressed to the left, this block pressed to the right. Is kind of how you have to do it. So that was the only tricky part, was the layout, because then when you want to switch stuff around, you have to consider how the blocks are pressed. So if you don't want to have to do that, you do have the option of pressing your seams open, and then you won't have that problem. Alternatively, if you don't want to press all of the seams open, specifically, you could just press open these seams for the sashing piece, because that's really the only piece that truly connects and matters, because you kind of want these seams to nest when you put this together. So if you did press these open, you could do that. I ended up with some blocks that ended up in the wrong place, so I just flipped my seams so that they would nest anyway. So that's kind of what I did, but the finger pressing each piece, because this kind of goes together. Each of these sections goes together kind of like a log cabin. So see if I can find a block where you can see it better. So like this little piece, this tiny little piece is sewn on first. Well, no, this tiny little piece is sewn on first, and then this tiny little strip is sewn on. And these are very thin. These are like 1.5 inch pieces. So they can get distorted really easily. So I found, if you're going to do this pattern, I found that it was easier and I got more accurate blocks if I finger pressed that first before ironing. Actually, I didn't iron it at all until I put this larger piece on. So I put this piece on finger press, put this piece on finger press, put this piece on finger press, put this larger piece on finger press, then iron this section. And I got more accurate results that way. The pieces fit together better, and they just went together better. So just a little tip, if you decide to do this pattern, I bought this on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description if any of you guys want to check it out or maybe do this pattern. But doing this pattern, the chandelier pattern was my leader ender. So I would do the chandelier part. That was my leader ender for this project. It's just that once I got all of the blocks together, instead of piecing the rows and finishing the quilt, I jumped to chandelier and finished that quilt first, got it all done. And then once that quilt was done, then I came back to this quilt, put the rows together, and finished the quilt top. But I'm pretty proud of myself because I am like the queen of the quilt top only. Quilt top only, and I will just do the quilt top and never and not finish it. I have many quilt tops, many quilt tops unfinished. So I felt really proud that even though I said small projects only, I'm not going to do any large projects, I am proud of myself for the fact that the 2 large projects that I did start, I actually finished, and they are finished quilts. So pretty proud of myself for that, because I am famous for stopping mid-project and never finishing it, or just finishing the top and not completing the quilt. But I do have a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation. Yesterday, not yesterday, Wednesday, I volunteered at this place called the Green Chair. I don't know everything about their organization, but part of what they do is they help underprivileged people who are trying to set up their home, right? And maybe don't have money for furniture and stuff like that. I don't know their application process. I don't know their qualification process. I don't know their income requirements or anything like that. I haven't done any research like that. I basically went on my company website and looked for a volunteer opportunity that was close to my home and wasn't outside. Because my company gives us 16 hours a year that we can use for volunteering. And so I took some time and went and did this. And so what I did, what we basically did, so the specific project I was working on was called Build a Bedroom Bundle. And basically what they do is that, maybe they put together a dresser and a bed and create a bedroom bundle for the family that this is going to go to. So you might get a lamp and a bed and a dresser or whatever they put. I don't know what the bundles look like, but they have a lot of stuff in their facility. So they have a lot of bundles. So I did that and it was nice. It was fun. I was putting together a chest of drawers. So whereas a dresser is longer and shorter, a chest is taller and more narrow. And so I was putting those together and I put together some lamps. It was a fun thing to do for a couple hours. They gave us some lunch. But I had left the facility and I got in my car and then something said, wait a minute, maybe they take quilts. So I went inside and I asked them and they said that they do. They said that they take quilts and that, if they get them, what they do is when they're giving somebody a bundle, maybe like a living room bundle or something like that, they'll use that homemade quilt or they'll use that quilt. I don't know that it's homemade, but they'll use that quilt to go with the bundle as kind of like a nice touch, right? So I'm like, okay, so maybe I can finish some of these quilts and give them a home because that's part of the reason why I don't want to finish them is because I don't want to finish them. The quilting process is not my favorite, but also because it's like, what am I going to do with them? What am I going to do with them? I don't know, at least 10, at least 10 quilt tops that need to be quilted. At least 10, but probably more. And then I have many quilts in various stages of completion. I have a quilt where all the blocks are done. I just need to put them together. Like, it's ridiculous. So now I have some motivation. So I'm hoping that it's December, so probably not now. But once the new year hits, I think it would be kind of cool to finish a couple of quilts and take some pictures of them and go on ahead and donate them and let them have a life. So that's it for me, and I really enjoyed this pattern. It's Intersected by Everyday Stitches. It was a great pattern. It went together very easily. Like I said, the only tricky part was the layout because you have blocks pressed two different ways. But if you press your seams open, you don't even have to worry about that. I just don't like pressing my seams open because it takes longer and I'm lazy. So that's it for me, and I will see you guys next video.